From stories across the globe to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
I'm Movin Hettiarachi and here are today's headlines.
State institutions in the Western Province and other main cities instructed to implement the work-from-home system. Special operations will be conducted to find groups who have left the Western Province. 140 leave hospital after completely recovering from COVID-19. 314 new patients reported today. Cardinal emphasizes that everyone should follow health guidelines. Calculators allowed to be used for the accounting subject of the GCE advanced level examination. Air Vice Marshal Sudarshan Patharana appointed as the new Air Force commander. France under lockdown.
Now to those and more stories in detail. In today's top story, the government has instructed state institutions in the Western Province and other cities to implement the working from home system to control the spread of coronavirus. The heads of state institutions has been informed to prepare plans to provide essential and other services based on the experiences of working from home from April to May. The relevant circular has been sent yesterday by the President's Secretary, P.B. Jaisundar, to all secretaries of the ministries and state ministries. The provincial chief secretaries, district secretaries, heads of departments, chairmen and general managers of state corporations and statutory boards. It is especially relevant to Colombo, Gampaha and Kalathura districts where the travelling has been restricted due to the spread of the virus. The state institutions at other districts, except for the ones in the districts where the Director General for Health Services has been named as risk zones, should maintain their activities as usual under the health guidelines. The President Secretary has said the heads of state institutions are personally bound to provide all facilities under their subject matter to control the corona pandemic. The head of institutions entrusted with the decision-making power to decide on the services can perform the distance and home. After deciding, the relevant documents and equipment should be delivered to the homes of employees with their proper permission. The time period to work from home is from 8:30 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. The head of institutions can change it according to the needs of if there is no curfew. The employees who are not under working from home plan can be seconded to other institutions which need additional human resources. The heads of institutions have been instructed by a circular to use alternative communication media to successfully implement the work from home system. SMS, email, telephones and WhatsApp and Skype can be used for such purposes. It is the responsibility of accounting officers to provide allocations to work from home. The circular issued by the President's Secretary say institutions which directly provide services to public should create online methods for people to make their requests without delay. The heads of the institution has power to make requests employees under quarantine at home to work from their residence. However, an employee with even mild symptom of coronavirus should not be entrusted with any work. Special guidelines have been issued to regional administration, education, higher education, welfare services, statutory institutions, public enterprises and general administration sectors by a circular issued yesterday. Among them, launching television and radio channels to provide for education for school students, publishing of educational programs over electronic media, continuation of welfare services and providing services to home of disabled and terminally ill patients. The circular has said the provisions ordered by the health authorities to eradicate the spread of the virus should be followed by all state institutions. It has been recommended that workplace should be maintained as a model premises to follow health guidelines. The heads of institutions has been informed that services are related to ports, custom, water, electricity and other essential services should be maintained without an interruption.
Moving on with more local stories, today is Vap Full Moon Poya Day, which has recorded many important events in the history of Buddha Sasana. The offering of Katinaro Puja commences with the Vap Poya. The devotees are engaged in religious observances following health guidelines. The history of Buddha Sasana mentions that the Buddha visited Tausitha heaven and preached Abhidhamma to his mother in the previous birth and arrived at Sankasapura in Nabadeva on a day like today. Another significant incident that occurred today is the bringing of a branch of Jayashree Mahabodhi from India. The passing away of Arahat Mihindu, preaching of disciplinary Pitakaya at Tuparamaya by the Arahat Aritta are other important historic events that are connected to the Vap full moon Poya day. The Buddhist monks end observing Vas on the Vap full moon Poya day. Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation telecasts live Saddharma Varsha Poya Day religious programs from its premises today. They were telecast according to the quarantine regulations and following health guidelines. The 203rd sermon of Amadam Sisila Dhamma Sermon series took place this morning at the Temple Trees under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The sermon was delivered by Venerable Alutkama Panyasarthera of Kandy, Alutkama Gamantalawa. The Prime Minister, who engaged in religious practices, also worshipped the 6-feet casket which is to be offered to Somavati sacred place in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Chief Prelate of Sripadasthana, Venerable Bengamwe Damadina Thera, says that the Sripada season will be conducted while following quarantine regulations. He mentioned this during a meeting to brief officials of state and private sectors about the commencement of Sripada pilgrimage season. It was disclosed that the Sripada pilgrimage season would be commenced on the Undua full moon Poya day, maintaining personal distance and with the participation of limited number of devotees.
Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, according to traditions to prepare the Katina robe of the state Katina ceremony, offered threads today. This is the first time where a Katina ceremony will be held under the state patronage after the eras of King Parakramabahu II. The State Ministry of Batik, Handloom and Local Textile Products has planned to conduct the state Katina ceremony on the 7th and 8th of next month under the historic Somavati sacred area. It is a tradition that prevailed in the times of kings to offer the Katina robe to the Buddhist monks. Recalling the history, threads needed to prepare the Katina robe were handed over to State Minister Dayasri Jayasekara today at the President's house. Villagers of Madiragiriya, Biso and Bisopura will commence preparing the Katina robe from tomorrow. The robe that is sewn for 1 week is scheduled to be taken to Somavati sacred place in a procession on the 7th of next month. During the state Katina ceremony, robe will be offered to Buddhist monks under the guidance of the Chief Prelate of Somavati Rajamahaviharaya, Venerable Palhamune Sri Sumangala Thera. The government has planned to conduct the state's Katina ceremony annually from this year.
Today is Miladun-Nabi festival, which marks the birth of Muhammad Nabi. Islam devotees have organized various festivals around the globe to mark the event. The Islam history states that Muhammad Nabi was born 1,500 years ago in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Muhammad Nabi, who was born during an era of indiscipline, acted to spread peace and equality in Islam by gathering all communities. He explained the order of Allah and pointed out the way to develop the mind and thinking of human beings through a spiritual life. His message of God is followed by followers of Islam through Quran. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that he believes the foundation for a better and developed society is laid by living the example of sacrifices made by Muhammad Nabi for humanity. Issuing a message in connection with Miladun-Nabi Day, the President has pointed out that everyone should work with each other, eliminating hatred and suspicion by following teachings of the Muhammad Nabi. The President in his message has stated that he believes all Islam followers will join to create a better society by defeating all sorts of extremism by following the values taught by Muhammad Nabi. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has requested all Muslims to come together on the path to a unitary state by socializing qualities to create a better society according to the teaching of the Muhammad Nabi, who preached the world that all human beings should have equal rights. Issuing a message in connection with the Miladun Nabi Day, the Prime Minister has requested to wish for the protection of people in the world from the pandemic. He has pointed out that the world is facing a crisis in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, the Prime Minister has requested to celebrate the event according to Islamic teachings while following health guidelines. The National Centre to Prevent the Spread of COVID-19 says that the total number of persons recovered from the virus has increased to 4,282. Meanwhile, 314 new COVID-19 patients were reported today. 4,282 who were infected with the virus have completely recovered with a percentage of 42.37. Another 5,804 are undergoing treatment, which is a percentage of 57.43. The highest number of COVID-19 patients by 6 a.m. today has been reported from the Western Province. 2,960 have been reported from the Gampha district. 1,760 have been found from the Colombo district. Patients have been detected 24 districts and no COVID patients have been reported from the Kilinochchi district. An infected person has been found from the Mullaitivu district yesterday, where there were no COVID patients earlier. The highest number of PCR tests in a day was conducted yesterday, which is 11,773. The total number of PCR tests conducted so far is 490,563. Police media spokesman DIG Ajit Rohana said 20 officers have been infected with the virus. A husband of a woman police constable at the Kuliapitia headquarters police station has been infected with COVID-19. His contacts has been sent for quarantine and the police station was disinfected. Normal services of the police station are being maintained according to health guidelines. Public health medical officers that 4 fishermen in Karandenia area have been infected with the virus. 3 of them have been sent for Hambantota Hospital's COVID treatment center and Dambula Hospital's COVID treatment center. Steps have been taken to quarantine their contacts. 2 COVID-19 patients were reported from Sitavaka Medical Officers Division. They have been sent to the Kosgama Hospital. They have gone to Paliagoda Fish Market recently, and members of 8 families who are contacts of them have been subjected to self-quarantine. 8 corona patients have been reported from Ahaliagoda Medical Officers area. 80 family members who are contacts of them have been subjected to self-quarantine. A total of 16 patients are reported from the area. 1,200 contacts are self-quarantined. 2 COVID-19 patients were reported from Kotagala Pradesh Sabha area. Health authorities say that they have been working at Paliagoda Fish Market. 345 in Hattana undergoing self-quarantine. 50 out of them underwent PCR tests. It has been found that 29 workers of a steel factory at Kaduala Ranala have been infected with the virus. All factory workers have been subjected to quarantine at the factory premises. Several foreign workers who are working at the factory are among them. Purchasing of vegetables of Badulla and Nuwara districts is taking place at the Kapatipula Special Economic Centre due to the closure of Bandarawala Economic Centre. Strict health guidelines are imposed at the Economic Centre. The Army Special Force launched a program to measure temperature randomly of the people in the Colombo district. It took place at several areas yesterday and today.
The police say that a special operation has been launched to find the groups who left Western Province yesterday and are staying at hotels, guest houses and other places. The quarantine curfew covered 68 police divisions earlier and it was imposed on another 49 police stations from midnight yesterday. Accordingly, quarantine curfew was in force in 112 police divisions of the Western Province. 1,260 have been arrested for violating quarantine curfew. 24 have been arrested during the last 24 hours. The steps were taken to isolate Hatton town with reporting of corona patients from the area. Accordingly, public health inspectors of the area has instructed to close the trade stalls. However, tension has prevailed when urban councillor attempted to reopen the shops. Colombo Municipal officer has taken steps to isolate Rahulapura, Pragatipura and Valisarapura of Nogiagoda Mirhana Police Division. Meanwhile, Malavapitiya Medical Officers Division belonging to Kurunagala Urban Council area has been declared as an isolated area after finding a patient from that area. Special operation has been implemented to search for those who violate quarantine curfew. Senior DIG Deshabandhu Tennakon arrived at Valipanna Exchange of the Southern Expressway today to look into the matter. DIG Ajit Rohana said quarantine curfew is not a problem for students who are sitting for the GCE advanced level examination and its investigators. Police emphasised that laws will be strictly implemented against those who violate quarantine curfew. Petroleum Corporation says that fuel stocks can be supplied without a shortage despite the pandemic situation. Kolupitiya police conducted a special investigation this morning on an information that a wedding has taken place at a star-class hotel near Gold Face Green. Police said that legal action will be taken against management of the hotel and persons who organised the wedding for acting against quarantine regulations.
We now take a look at the global scene of the pandemic and taking a look at Germany right now. German and French citizens were coming to terms with impending nationwide lockdowns on the horizon on Thursday as the governments of both countries take action to get the second European wave of coronavirus under control.
Mixed emotions for residents across two of Europe's biggest economies on Thursday, as Germany and France each prepare to enter nationwide lockdowns. German Chancellor Angela Merkel announced a month-long lockdown from November 2nd, which will include the closure of restaurants, gyms and theatres. Restrictions were also imposed to limit indoor gatherings to 2 households, as concerns that hospitals will be overwhelmed mount. Berliners were coming to terms with the latest government measures, including local resident Johannes Mayer.
This has been going on for nearly a year and, okay, the measures are correct, but it can't be that we wind the economy down again. So many people are suffering, restaurants, the travel industry. I work in consultancy and see it all. It isn't manageable.
Merkel also said on Thursday that preparations for a coronavirus vaccination programme in Germany were underway. France swiftly joined Germany in announcing it will be re-entering lockdown in order to turn the tide against a second wave of COVID-19. President Emmanuel Macron addressed the nation to say it was needed to stop the virus spiralling out of control. Their month-long rules come into force on Friday and have some key differences to what's happening in Germany. People have to stay in their homes except to buy essential goods, seek medical attention or use their daily 1-hour allocation of exercise. Schools and nurseries will remain open, but scientists have already cast doubt on how effective the measures will be. The actions of France and Germany have not gone unnoticed in the UK and have added pressure for it to rethink its own lockdown policy. For now, Britain, which is also one of Europe's biggest economies, has said it is sticking to regional measures in an attempt to control the virus.
Meanwhile, finding hope amid the coronavirus pandemic in Peru, baby Jogita was born 3 months premature and also beat the odds to recover from COVID-19.
A coronavirus miracle in Peru. Not enough that baby Jorgito was born 3 months premature, his life also started with a positive test for COVID-19. That meant spending the first part of his life under round-the-clock care in a Lima hospital. Weighing just half a kilo when he was born, Jorgito contracted the virus through his mother, who was suffering with coronavirus back in mid-June, when the pandemic was at its peak in Peru. Now, after months of recovery, Jorgito and his mother, Lisiyaya, are due to be discharged from hospital.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle that we're together, that we can have contact as mother and child. For me, Jorgito is a symbol of love, hope, and above all else, faith.
Back to more local stories. Archbishop His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit says it is the responsibility of everyone to follow health guidelines to eradicate the corona pandemic. He mentioned this in a special message to media.
Our beloved motherland, Sri Lanka, and the whole world is going through a terrible disaster, and that we know is COVID-19. Because of this sickness, we have lost already a lot of lives, and also a lot of people are afflicted by this, and also their life pattern has been shattered and disturbed. There is economic crisis all over the world, and many people have lost their jobs, and there is much suffering that this has brought about to all of us. Therefore, it is our responsibility and duty, while we appreciate the great effort put into getting over this problem by the government authorities, the health care authorities, as well as the security services in controlling this situation, we cannot loosen our guard and let the situation deteriorate, because it has come back again, even in a more virulent form right now, and it has begun to afflict a lot of Sri Lankans, among others. Therefore, it is our responsibility to cooperate as much as possible with the authorities in trying to curb the spread of this terrible disaster. We can't afford to let this situation drag on, and also we can't afford to let this situation deteriorate. Therefore, I make a sincere and honest appeal. Please support and help in the process of trying to overcome this situation by cooperating with the authorities in all the requests that they are making for us to wear the face mask, to keep the distance, to wash your hands, and also to disinfect, use the sanitizers and other things. All these things are done for our own good. I would like to appeal to all of our brothers and sisters and all our citizens to join hands in one effort to help these authorities to tide over this problem. At the same time, as religious people, we hope that all the religious leaders in this country will join together in invoking God or invoking whoever that is blessing us to help us tide over this situation. Very often, this kind of situations arise because of man's selfishness. Therefore, it is a time also for purification and for a change of heart.
Dry rations were distributed among 23 families of the Kolonnava Divisional Secretariat area while the quarantine curfew has been imposed. The dry rations were distributed under the government's program to distribute food for the families under self-quarantine in areas where this area is quarantine curfew due to the pandemic. The value of a sack of dry rations is 10,000 rupees, which was distributed among 123 families at Kolonnava Mithuramulla area under the first stage.
Commissioner General of Examinations Sanat Pujita says that permission will be given to use normal calculators for accounting subject at the GCE Advanced Level Examination. The examination will be conducted for another 6 days. Commissioner General of Examinations Sanat Pujita says that the examination will be conducted for another 6 days and there are 13 more subjects. He said that a normal calculator can be used for the accounting subject. The second question paper of the accounting subject will be on next Saturday. Permission will be given to use any calculator that cannot be programmed. He said that Sri Lanka Transport Board and the Railway Department will provide transport facilities on Saturday. Special attention has been paid in this regard since there is quarantine curfew in the Western Province. He requested the parents to send the students to the examination centres well before the time of the examination. The Commissioner General of Examinations said that marking of Grade 5 Scholarship Examination answer scripts took place until today. Commissioner General of Examinations Sanat Pujita says that the examination was conducted from the 11th of this month. Marking of examination papers took place from 22nd of this month until today. The evaluation was conducted at 39 cities and under 391 evaluation boards. However, he said that evaluation process did not take place in Gampaha and Kuliapitia. He added that it was successfully conducted or rather concluded in all other cities.
Commander Air Vice Marshal Sudarshan Patrana has been appointed as the 18th Commander of the Air Force. The appointment letter was handed over to the new Air Force Commander yesterday by the President's Secretary. With the new appointment, Air Vice Marshal Sudarshan Patrana is scheduled to be promoted as Air Marshal by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Mr. Sudarshan Patrana, who has a service record of more than 3 decades in the Air Force, was the Chief of Staff after holding out various positions including the Operations Director. He was the commanding officer of the Kafir Squadron. Mr. Patrana was the officer who piloted the first MiG-27 of the Air Force. He was one of the pilots of the F-7 Squadron in the 90s decade. Mr. Sudarshan Patrana is scheduled to assume duties as the new Air Force Commander after the present Air Force Commander, Air Marshal Sumangala Dias, retires on the 2nd of next month. We'll be back with foreign news after a short break.